Hi, welcome to the channel. Today's video we are doing a long-term review of my next Duratrek walking shoes or trainers. I've done just over 250 miles of tracked walks on my Garmin watch, and I've probably done another 20 to 30 miles of just casual walking that I haven't tracked. So days out with the kids, that kind of stuff, just generally wearing them around. So I've had a really good running period in them. So I'm just going to give you my thoughts, then we'll have a bit of a look at the shoe, see how the condition is and all the tread and stuff. So I've been really impressed with these. I've had two pairs of Duratrek stuff. I had boots, which I reviewed previously, which didn't do very well. And then these trainers, which I think so far are doing really, really well. They are very, very comfortable. Despite the big giant sole, they're actually really lightweight as well. Certainly for the sort of size of them and everything. And that sole has provided me with real comfort over all sorts of different terrain. And that includes a lot of pavement walking as well. So I've done lots of canal walks in them, lots of cycle tracks, lots and lots of miles, pushing Emily on her trike and in the pram and stuff. And they have been really, really comfortable for that. I've done some quite long walks as well, days of sort of 36,000 plus steps. Walking to work and back, that's 7 miles each way, some rough stone tracks one way, and then 7 miles of cycle route the other. And that's the kind of stuff that can really make your feet ache. But the big bouncy sole gives loads of cushioning, and I have found them really, really comfortable. Another thing that's held up really well is the waterproof nature of the shoes. They have been really reliable. It's not been the best year in Wales weather-wise. They've been out in plenty of wet days, and today is just another one. They have handled wet grass really well, soaking wet grass from mile to mile, done really well in that. They're really good through puddles because of the really big deep sole as well, keeps the material out of the water a lot. So I've been really impressed with the waterproof ability of them. Certainly outperformed my expectations. The only day that they've got absolutely soaked is a day when there was just the worst thunderstorm I've experienced in many years. Everywhere flooded, and I was just walking through ankle and calf deep water and hail and stuff. Obviously water just poured in through the top, and because the waterproof is quite effective, they took an awful long time to dry up. So no, very comfortable, and so far really impressed with the waterproof ability of them as well. The third aspect I've been really impressed with is the general wear and tear of the shoe. The tread, despite the fact they've had a hard life on a lot of tarmac, I normally try and use my hiking boots a lot more off-road, but just the nature of having a 2-year-old means I've done an awful lot of canals and cycle routes, that kind of stuff. So they've had a really hard life, but the tread is actually lasting really well. Maybe 260 to 280 miles I've done in these, and the tread is still pretty solid, and the wear rate hasn't increased, so the wear rate seems to be pretty solid. So I expect to get a good few miles yet before that tread is completely worn down. So that is really positive. In terms of general wear and tear, they do look in pretty good shape. We'll get into more detail on that back of the house. But so far, yeah, all the glue, stitch and all that kind of stuff seems to be pretty solid. And the good thing with them is it's not actually that much kind of detail or stitch on the outside. So there's not as much to go wrong with them. Sometimes you get overly complicated designs on the top, loads of different points where they could fail. These seem to be pretty simple. So that seems to have limited the failure points. And it seems they rely quite a lot on glue, but so far that glue has held really firm. In terms of performance, I've used them in all sorts of conditions, all sorts of locations, from mountains, valleys, and everywhere in between. And they've been really, really good. No worse than my expensive walking shoes, as far as I can tell. Obviously, most shoes are slightly dodgy on wet rock. These are no worse than the ones I've worn, more expensive walking shoes. So yeah, they performed really, really well. Brand new, these are £62. I have tracked on my Garmin watch that I've done 250 miles of tracked walks in these shoes now. And I've also worn them a lot casually as well. So I've worn them on just days out with the kids and stuff. So they've done probably an extra 30, 40 miles on top of that. So we're talking about maybe 270 to 280 miles of walking. So how have they got on? Obviously, I've reviewed the Duratrek boots recently and they didn't do very well at all. These have done a lot better. In terms of tread, we have still got quite a lot of tread left and it seems to be wearing pretty well. I've not noticed much tread wear in the last 50, 60 miles. It seems to have got to a stage now where it's lasting pretty well. Certainly a little bit of bold patches on the rears, maybe the way I've been walking in them, but generally they're still a perfectly good usable pair of shoes. And the reason I am giving them extra credit for the tread is that I've ended up wearing these a lot on tarmac. So I've done a lot of walking with Amelie in her pram and on the trike and stuff. So they've done a lot of miles on tarmac, which again, you wouldn't perhaps want to do in a pair of hiking shoes. So I'm giving them extra credit for that because they've had a tougher life than they would have done if they were on grass and gravel tracks and generally off-road and stuff. Outside of the tread wear, they are wearing pretty well. There's a tiny little bit of give on the left front toe, just where the glue has come a little bit undone. Looks like a little bit of damage there, but nothing on the right shoe at all. And the tread all the way around has been really good. I've not had any water ingress on a walk yet, and they've had a few walks in the rain, so that seems to be okay. But in terms of the inside, there is definitely some significant wear around the ankles. So there is worn through the outer material, and there's a plastic coating inside there which is showing some signs of wear as well. So I'm wondering if that is the waterproof membrane and whether that back heel is going to let in a bit of water. But as I mentioned when I first looked at these, they've got a hugely deep sole, but they are still really lightweight. So that sole tends to keep the material out of the water really well. You can go for some quite deep puddles in these shoes without really hitting the material side. So actually, I'm pretty impressed with these all in. As I said earlier, the comfort levels that this big sole gives is really impressive. So for tarmac walk, they are really good. And if you're getting onto tough gravel tracks and stuff and really stony places as well, they really protect your feet from feeling the impact of that. I'm going to keep wearing them and see how many more miles I get out of them. I'll probably update later on in some sort of community posts as to what is the final mileage of the tread and stuff before they completely die and I abandon using them. But no, I think these are pretty impressive. Whether they're worth the £62, I don't know. But if you saw them in the next sale, I've seen them available on eBay as well in different colours and stuff. I think if you get them for the sort of 30, 40 quid mark, I think they're actually pretty good value for money. They've lasted pretty well, and they say they've been really, really comfortable. I've not had any issues with wearing them whatsoever. Now I've done just over 1,000 miles of track walking so far this year, so I've managed to wear through a good few pairs of shoes, and I'm still trying the different ones. So if you are interested in seeing more reviews of walking shoes and boots and stuff, do subscribe to the channel because there'll be more out in the next few months as I start to put some serious mileage to some different pairs as well. Anyway, a huge thanks for watching as always, and I'll catch you in the next one.